Hey guys, so today I'm doing another Diwali sweet for you guys, and this one is called Rasgulla in Trinidad. And there's been a lot of debate on the name of this sweet because in every other country in the world it's called Gulab Jamun. So I'm not sure where Rasgulla came about in Trinidad, but I'm gonna stick with it. So that's what I know it as, and I'm gonna call it Rasgulla. So it's actually like a little ball made with whole milk, dried whole milk powder. In Trinidad, you'll get brands like Klim and like Dairy Dairy, and in the US, you'll get brands like Anka and Nestle. So I would suggest you use Anka or Klim. I think you can find Klim over here. So this rasgulla is like little fried sweet balls that we make with the whole milk powder and a little dash of flour and some baking soda, and it's soaked in a nice sugar syrup. And oh my god guys, it's really tasty, and I bet you guys are gonna love this one. So if you guys want to see how I do this, then keep watching. So to start off, you're going to need 1 cup of full cream milk powder. You can also use non-fat powder, and we'll sift this before using. I'm also using 3 tablespoons of all-purpose flour. This also has to be sifted before use. I have 1 tablespoon of ghee or clarified butter, 1.5 cups of granulated sugar. This is to make a syrup. And I have 2 cups of water here. This is also to make the syrup. I have some ginger. I'm just going to be using a little piece of this, or 1 tablespoon of ground ginger. We're going to put in the syrup. I'm also going to use some cardamom powder, about half a teaspoon for the syrup and half a teaspoon for the dough. I'm also going to use a little pinch of baking soda, about 1/8 teaspoon, or just a pinch. I'm also going to use a dash of salt and some whole milk. I'm just going to be using about 2 to 3 tablespoons depending on how much we need for the dough to make it soft. And if you do have whole milk, you can also use evaporated milk. You can use yogurt, or you can also use heavy cream. It's your preference, whatever you want to use. So now we're going to start making the dough. So what I'm going to do here is just add all my dry ingredients to my sifter and sift everything before I start mixing. So I've sifted the flour and the milk. Now I'm going to do 1/8 of a teaspoon of baking soda. Make sure you don't use any more than 1/8, because if you use too much, it's going to break up into the oil. So it's important that you don't use a lot. So this is enough. So I'm just going to add that. I'm also going to add half teaspoon of cardamom powder. Just going to sift that in. So you just want to mix this with your hands. Just to kind of distribute everything. I'm also going to just add about a dash of salt. About 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt as well, or a pinch. I'm going to add the ghee, or the clarified butter. Just kind of crumble it through your hands. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is add the milk. So I'm gonna add 1 tablespoon first. And it's important to make sure that your milk is like room temperature or just a little bit warm. And at the end, we want a nice soft dough. And you don't want to over knead this too much because it could develop cracks when you roll them. So it's a bit of a stiff dough. I'm gonna add just about half a tablespoon of milk again. Okay, so it's soft and nice now, and what I'm gonna do is just cover it for a couple minutes while we make the syrup. And we also want to cover it because we want that milk to absorb the liquid milk, and when it's absorbed, then we'll see if it needs any more or if it's good as it is. So we're gonna make our syrup while the dough sits. And I'm gonna put my pot on medium to high heat. And I'm gonna add the water, 2 cups of water, 1.5 cups of sugar. And you just want the sugar to melt in there. You don't want it to become like a thick syrup. You want it to be nice and thin, but with a bit of a stickiness to it. So now I'm gonna add the cardamom. Half teaspoon. And you can also use the whole cardamom pods, and you can just break it and throw it in there. You can use about 4 pods. I'm gonna add in 2 pods. This is what the cardamom pod looks like. So I'm just gonna kind of break it. And add it in. This is what it looks on the inside. It's like little seeds. Now I'm gonna grate the ginger. So for the ginger, you just wanna scrape the skin off, peel it off. And I'm just gonna grate in about 1 tablespoon in there. And this is optional. A lot of people don't use ginger in their rasgullas, but I do. I just love the taste it has. Okay, so that is perfect. So just stir that in. Let the sugar dissolve into the water, and you just want to let it go for about 4 to 5 minutes, and then we'll turn it off. So it's been about 5 minutes now, and the sugar has completely dissolved, and I think it's time to turn it off now. So what I'm gonna do is just turn it off and set it aside. Just let it cool down until we're ready to add our rasgullas in there. So I covered the rasgulla with some paper towel, some damp paper towel actually, and it's been about 5 minutes, and the dough has absorbed the milk and it's kind of really hard and crumbly. So what I'm gonna do is just add a little more milk, and the reason for this is because it's cold here, so the air is a little dry, and that's why it's not keeping its soft texture. So if you live in a more humid place, it's gonna probably take just 2 tablespoons. So far I use 4 tablespoons, actually 3.5. So I'm just gonna use a half more, and that should be good. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is just oil my hand with some ghee, and we're gonna start forming this into balls. So I just put a bit of ghee in my hand, both my hands. I'm just gonna pick up a little piece of dough, and you want to roll it into a nice smooth ball. And you want to make sure that the ball doesn't have any cracks. It's probably going to take a while to roll it until it becomes really smooth. See, this is what you want. You want it to be really smooth and nice. And you want to roll it half the size of what you want the finished product to look like, because when it goes into the oil, it's going to expand. So just do it smaller than you want it to look like at the end. So it took me a while, but I rolled all and ensured that they didn't have any cracks in them. So what I'm gonna do now, I got 12 actually, forgot to tell you that. What I'm gonna do now is head over to the pot, and you wanna heat up about 2 cups of ghee or 2 cups of oil to fry these in. And you wanna heat it up on low to medium heat, because you don't want these to fry too quick and to get too dark fast. So I have the oil heating up here. It's going to probably take about 7 to 8 minutes to heat up really well. And I'll show you guys how it looks at that point. So it's been about 7 minutes now. And what I'm going to do is just test the oil a little. I'm going to put one of the rasgullas in. And if it pops up right away, then the oil is too hot. So the oil looks perfect there. You can see that it's sizzling around the rasgulla. So we'll just leave it in there for about a minute just to see, to make sure the consistency of the dough is right, to make sure that it doesn't mash up in the pan, because you don't want to put the whole batch in and then it spoils on you. Because it takes a few tries to get this right. So sometimes it gets a little stuck to the bottom of the pan, so you can give it a little nudge just to move around. So it looks like it's frying nicely. So this one looks like it's frying well, so I'm just gonna add the next 5 in. I'll do them 6 at a time, so that they have space to expand and to move around. And make sure you keep it on low to medium heat, because you don't want these to over brown. It in. It looks like it's good now. You see that nice golden color? This is what you're looking for. So I'm just gonna take this one out and leave it onto a plate lined with paper towels, just to drain the excess oil. And you can leave these in until they become the nice color, the nice golden brown color. And do you see how they're expanding? This is why you don't want to overcrowd your pot. And just keep kind of turning them up so they have a nice even color throughout. So these have been in here for about 6 minutes and they've developed a nice color, so they're ready to come out. So I'm just going to put them onto my paper towel. And I'm gonna add the rest in. Just let these fry for about 5 to 7 minutes, like the first set, and then I'll show you guys the finished product. This is the finished product, guys. I've taken all out of the oil, and I'm just gonna let them cool for a couple minutes, about 5 minutes. And then we'll place them into the syrup and you'll see how it looks in there. So now that the rasgullas are cooled, I'm gonna add it to the syrup. And you just wanna leave it here to soak for probably about 30 minutes. And it'll soak up all the sugar and the water, and it will become really nice and spongy. And if you want to make more syrup, you can also do that. This is the amount of syrup I want, so I'm just sticking with this. And I'll just keep stirring it like every 10 minutes or so. And I'll show you guys how it looks after it's really absorbed the sugar water and stuff. I'll show you how it looks after that point. So it's been soaking for about 45 minutes now, and I'm just gonna take a spoon and open it just to show you how spongy it is on the inside. Do you see how that looks? It's absorbed all the syrup and it's really nice and spongy, and it tastes amazing. So if you guys like this recipe, give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and leave me comments and let me know if you've made it. Give me some suggestions if you do yours differently. I would love to hear from you. So thank you so much for checking out this recipe, guys, and stay tuned for more.